Welcome, we have bagels.
Thanks for Rooster Teeth for joining me on the Bethesda channel as we go through all of our stuff today.
Thank you.
It's really sweet of you guys to drop by.
We're talking a little later with Pete about VR. Right now, we're talking about Elder Scrolls Legends.
Right, which is with a game that Gus is a fan of this genre of
I'm
games.
a fan of this genre.
Which by the way, does have cliff racers, and they are good, but not nearly as annoying in Legends as they are in Morrowind. Yeah.
All right, well, that sounds like a start. Let's talk. What do you got for me?
So the game, I was going to say, the game launched back in March officially, right? Legends?
Yep.
And so it's been out for a couple of months now. What do you think the reception's been like for it so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. It's sort of been a slow burn for us. We were in closed beta for a while last year, and then we were in open beta for a long time, and it was really all about kind of refining and tweaking and changing cards and getting the game to a place where the meta is very balanced. And for those who aren't really interested or care about strategy card game parlance, meta basically means that there are lots of different decks that you can play, that it's not a situation where, well, if you're not playing one of these 2 or 3 decks, like, don't bother because you're never getting to the top. We want to have lots of variety in our game, and I think we've hit that spot. And then since March, we've been sort of rolling out features and new content. We rolled out Fall of the Dark Brotherhood, which is a big single-player story with like 25 plus new missions to play that also unlock a bunch of cards, about 40 cards they add to your collection, which again sort of evolved the meta more. Now you have new cards to add in your decks, and maybe I do something with this card now. And then the big thing obviously is what we announced on Sunday, which is like big media expansion, bunch of new cards.
It's like 150, I think?
150 or so cards. It's called Heroes of Skyrim. And it's all based in and around Skyrim as we know it. So characters that you know, Paarthurnax and Alduin and Brynjolf and all of those folks will be showing up as cards. Dragon Shouts is a thing we're bringing to the game. So we have a new card and sort of card mechanic where the first time you play a card like Unrelenting Force, you just get the Foos. And then when you play the card a second time, then you get the Foos Row. And so you get the same sort of mechanic that you did in Skyrim of kind of unlocking the different levels. And there's cards that'll level up your shout cards. So it's going to add dragons and shouts and werewolves and all kinds of cool Skyrim stuff.
Well, and that's what's awesome, I think, about that sets your game apart, right? It's like there's several different card games on the market, but you know, you're drawing from the Elder Scrolls universe, so you have like such a wide range of well-known, iconic characters and archetypes that you can draw from that really flesh out the experience.
And that are unique from a lot of other sort of fantasy world setups.
For sure.
This one is very unique in that, you know, we were talking about earlier, like the closest thing to the dwarves, the Dwemer. That's a thing that happened so long ago, not around anymore. And the entire feel of the Elder Scrolls fantasy world is so different.
Yep,
from
and those are, in fact, two different things. If you went into our game and sort of scratched off all the names and even the art and just said, this is a card that does this and it costs this much, it's an incredibly good, fun, well-balanced game. But I think what the designers have done an awesome job of is sort of embracing the Elder Scrolls and making not just a really good, fun strategy card game, but one that ties really well to the Elder Scrolls. So, you know, my favorite example is still Adoring Fan. I think that card is just brilliantly designed. For those who don't know, Adoring Fan was an NPC that showed up in Oblivion and was just this annoying little elf that would follow you around and harass you.
Would not leave you alone.
Once you won the arena. So the only way to get the Adoring Fan card in Elder Scrolls Legends is to actually win the arena. And you get this card, and it does nothing. It's a 0/1 with guard, so it means that you have to attack it and get it out of the way before you can do anything else. It can't be silenced, which means you can't stop it from doing what it does. And when it dies, it leaves the game for an indeterminate period of time, and then it just shows up back in the lane. So it's just this wonderful sort of, like, as a card, it's just kind of like whatever. That's just kind of a weird, interesting thing. But as an Adoring Fan card, it's such a perfect Elder Scrolls design and sort of encapsulates what that character was like in that game and brings it to a card game in a way that everybody goes, oh, that's really clever. Like, he doesn't actually hurt you. He's just annoying and in the way. And when you finally get rid of him, he comes back and gets in the way again. I think stuff like that is part of what has made Legends much more popular. That people who just want a really good strategy card game, it already is. But people who love the Elder Scrolls and, you know, played Skyrim, play Elder Scrolls Online, played Oblivion or Morrowind, there's so much of that lore and flavor in there that they can appreciate, and sort of makes the game even a little bit more meaningful for them, just from a design standpoint.
Yeah, and I think it shows, like you're talking about, how you could scratch the names off and it's still a good game. And I think it shows by the fact that the first thing you talked about when you sat down, we talked about the game, was about the meta, and about making sure that it's balanced. And because, I mean, with this kind of game, the meta is everything, and making sure that nothing comes in and disrupts the flow for everyone. So, I mean, is that like the bulk of the work, just figuring out the balance between all of the
I mean, honestly,
cards?
it really is. It's a lot of the work. I mean, you know, we sort of spend a lot of time from a development standpoint on a couple of main areas. One is constantly checking and making sure, and it's a really geeky exercise. It's all about the numbers. You're looking at win rates of different decks, win rates of different decks against other decks, like how well are they doing, if they go first, if they go second. And the meta isn't really something that necessarily people talk about as much as feel, right? It's a feel thing. If you play a game and you're just always seeing different types of decks, it feels right. It feels good and interesting and diverse. If you see the same 2 or 3 over and over, you may not even know what the meta is, but you know that feels bad and doesn't feel fun. So that is a big one. 2 is content, and constantly working on new content and doing those in a variety of ways. One is, we think single player is something that folks have really gravitated towards, the fact that you don't have to play against other people to enjoy the game, that we've got this full campaign that you start the game off. It's a 20-mission campaign, and you unlock a bunch of decks and get a bunch of cards and rewards. But then the Fall of the Dark Brotherhood is this big, meaty thing it's the most fun thing that I've ever played from a single-player standpoint in a card game ever. It's really well told. There's lots of player choice. Like, you can decide to kind of help the Dark Brotherhood or really screw them over. You're like a double agent, and you make different choices as you're playing through the missions, and the missions will play differently based on the choices you make, and you kind of get these interesting scenarios. We have a full single-player arena mode, which I think is really fun. Arena is not taking a deck out of the collection you own, but kind of building a deck on a fly. You pick a couple colors, and then you pick cards and build a 30-card deck, and it's a really fun, different way to play, but it can be daunting to play against other players if you haven't. So having lots of that single-player content has been important, and doing more and more of that is definitely something we want to do. But then it's also these big expansions like Skyrim, where you can really kind of stretch your legs and do some big, cool stuff. Lots of dragons and Nords and Imperials versus Stormcloaks and werewolves, cards that flip and change and do different things. Shouts, all of that stuff. It is all really important to kind of be doing all of that, making sure the game is healthy right now, adding new features, which we haven't really talked about, but we've been adding new features all the time: spectator mode, Twitch integration, different ways to reward people for streaming and watching. All of that's in-game tournament support is all stuff that we continue to work on and build as we go forward.
Now, you touched on it a little bit earlier. You're saying you like seeing a bunch of different types of decks rather than having maybe one specific type of deck dominate.
Yes.
When people are playing against each other. How do you guys tweak, like, make sure that everything is balanced enough that you don't get one dominating deck type?
It honestly, as it all comes down to numbers, like it's a constant state of looking at what's going on, and it's not that like there can't be one dominant deck right now. Like, if everybody decided to play, like, okay, we're going to play blue-yellow, and everybody's going to play some variant of a blue-yellow deck, and that was hugely popular, it's not that in and of itself is bad. Are there lots of other decks that you could then decide, oh, well, then I'm seeing a lot of blue-yellow, I'm going to play this red-green deck, which just totally crushes anybody playing blue-yellow, like it's a terrible matchup for them. And then people will naturally move off of it, because it turns out that deck doesn't just beat all decks. Like, it might be popular, but then they start not winning with it because people are saying, oh, well, I'm just going to play a different deck that plays really well against that deck. And then that deck starts losing a lot, and everybody goes, oh, yeah, I guess blue-yellow, I'm going to start playing something else too. And what happens over time is you get a nice spread of lots of people playing lots of different things. That's the biggest thing for me. Like, I have attention deficit disorder. I have no patience or like time for seeing the same thing over and over. I need variety. And so when I jump in and I'm facing lots of weird, interesting things that people are doing, that's when I know the game is doing well and healthy.
I feel like, this may be a weird thing to say, but I feel like card games are one of the ways I feel like I live in the future, because I started playing card games back, in the early 90s with Magic the Gathering, and it was like what you were talking about. People would play a deck and then or play cards. And he's like, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? Well, this card's obviously broken.
Right.
Let's email them and find out what the official ruling is. And now you don't have to worry about a physical card. It's all via software. You can adjust the text or adjust the attribute of a card that fixes an overall larger endemic problem.
It's hugely important. We actually get asked all the time, why aren't you going to do a physical version of this? Like, that would be awesome. I want to open packs. And the answer is exactly what you said, which is, once you print a physical card, like, you're screwed. That card does what it does. You're done. Like, what are you going to mail everybody a sticker and say, please replace the 3 on that card with this 2 so that the game is now more fun? Like, that ain't happening. But in a digital game, you can do that all the time. Like, and you could do it for 1 card. We did a change. It's been a while. It was like right around the first of the year where we probably changed like 6, 8, 10 cards just to try and even things out to get it to a healthy place. Now, I want to be clear, like, we take changing cards seriously. We don't do it casually. People get attached to decks, they get attached to cards. You just can't casually change stuff all the time. And now I think we're in a place where we're able to address meta changes, not by constantly changing cards, but by putting out new sets. Fall of the Dark Brotherhood comes out, and now it's kind of rebalanced a lot of stuff because you've given more decks certain tools to work with, or maybe an underplayed deck has some more things. And with Skyrim, it's going to go crazy pants because there are so many new things that you can do. They've done a lot of stuff to make cards maybe that didn't seem quite so good in the original set. Now are like, oh, I totally want to play that card now because it synergizes with this brand new card that makes it worth playing that. And so you get an even greater variety and people playing a lot more stuff. Now, everybody's going to play dragons because, I mean, it's dragons.
I think I'm planning on going with an all-adoring fans deck.
You could go for that. You could try it. I've actually seen that on any number of occasions with people like using that in cool, interesting ways. I think it's a lot of fun.
I love that outside the box thinking for like stuff like that, where you end up coming across a novelty deck. You're like, all right, this is kind of annoying, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, like kudos for trying something that nobody else is doing. Yeah, we definitely have a very passionate and creative fan base, and it's growing a lot. We just came out on Steam, a little over a week ago, which opened us up to a huge number of folks on PC and Mac. The tablets are out, and the phones will be out next month. So it's definitely growing and evolving. And Heroes of Skyrim will be out, in 2 weeks. So that's going to have a huge impact for everybody across all those devices.
I think, having the mobile version later, that's going to be great, for people who are unmasked on a train, on a bus, on a plane.
I have it on my phone now, and every day sitting on the bus to come over here, I'm sitting in this chair, like, pull it up on my phone, playing, getting a few matches in, because, like, I got it, and I enjoy playing it. And the great thing is, our game works across all platforms. So you can be playing on the phone, log off your phone, boot up your PC, and pick up a game in progress on the PC. When you're logged in Bethesda Net, your collection goes with you. So you can play it now on PC, and then when the phone version comes out, you log in, your collection will be there, all your cards will be there, all your progress will be there.
And you said Heroes of Skyrim comes out in a couple of weeks?
Comes out June 29th, so it's right around the corner.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining, spending the time to talk with us. I have a feeling we might see you a little later.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going too far.
Yeah, don't teleport too far away.
Well, it is the Bethesda stream featuring Rooster
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah.